Today we're going to be talking about changing units of measure between systems. The first question I usually get on this is, what do they mean between systems? Last section in our book, we talked about changing units of measure within systems. So the real key here is going to be, what in the world are they talking about systems? We actually have two systems we're going to be dealing with. We have the metric system, okay, and we have the customary system. The metric system is what most of the world uses, and you're going to come across that a lot during your science classes. The customary system is the unit of measurement that we use here in the United States. And so I want us to list out some specific examples of each. Okay? So for the metric system, you're going to have things like centimeters, meters, and kilometers for distance. You're also going to have grams and kilograms as weight measurements. And then you'll have things like liters for volume measurements. Okay. For the customary system, we have things like inches and feet and miles for our distance units. We have things like pounds and ounces for our weight measurements. And then we have things like quarts, pints, and gallons for our volume measurements. Okay, so in this section we're talking about switching from the metric system to the customary system, or from the customary system to the metric system. We need to be able to go back and forth between the two. Right? So a couple of things that you need to know about this before we get started on the examples. On the last section, when we were switching within systems, everything got an equal sign. And what that told us was that whatever number was on the left side of the equal sign, whatever number was on the right side of the equal sign, those were exactly the same. There's no rounding involved. Today, you're going to be seeing this little squiggly lines. It's got two squiggly lines. It's called a double tilde, and it means approximately. So, for example, when you were in much earlier grades, probably 5th, maybe 4th grade, you probably learned that if you wrote down 1.66 and you wanted to round to the nearest tenth, that you would round that as 1.7. And that is true. You rounded correctly. But these two things are not exactly the same. One involves rounding, which means that you've lost part or you've added to your original. So it's not exactly the same. And that's why we have to use this little double tilde. It means approximately. So we're close, but not exactly the same. Okay? And so when you're looking at your conversion charts in this section, you're going to notice that all of them have the little double tilde. And so they are all approximations. They have all been rounded to some degree. All right? So let's look at an example. Okay? First of all, let's try switching from 30 inches. And we want to know approximately how many centimeters that would be. All right? So we look at our conversion chart, just like we did in the last section. And we notice, okay, I'm going from inches to centimeters. So I'm going from smaller to larger. Excuse me. We're going from larger to smaller. Okay. So inches are bigger than centimeters. Okay. So that means we're going to be multiplying. And again, we have to start with the measurements that they gave us. So I'm starting with 30 inches. And I have to multiply so that my answer will be in centimeters. Okay? So how do I know what goes in this blank space here? Again, I have to look at my conversion chart. So I look over here and I see, okay, there are approximately 2.5 centimeters for every inch. So I'm doing 30 times 2.5. And that's going to give me 75 centimeters. All right? So that would be my final answer here. Next, we want to look at another example. We want to convert from yards into kilometers. So we're going to convert from 2,000 yards into kilometers. Okay. And so on this one, I am going from smaller to larger, but I also, when I look over there, I don't actually see a direct comparison. So I'm going to have to do a two-step process, right? And so when I look at this, I'm first going to convert from my yards into meters, and then I'll convert from meters into kilometers. So let's take a look from yards into meters. On this one, when you look over there, you're going to notice that the conversion rate is that there are 0.9 meters for every yard. Because that is a decimal, it does not have a whole number. Remember that we can either turn it into a fraction, in which case you would get that that is 9/10, and so we'd multiply times that, or you can just multiply it as a decimal, okay? Now I realize from yards into meters, we are going from something larger to something smaller, so you want to multiply, right? So we're taking this is going to be our step A or step 1. We're going from 2,000 yards, and we're multiplying this times 0.9, okay, because the conversion rate from our conversion chart is 0.9 meters for every yard, and this is going to give us our answer in meters, right? So 2,000 times 0.9, that's going to tell us we have 1,800 meters, okay? Then our second step, step B, is going to be we want to take this 1,800 meters and we want to convert it into kilometers. So I look and I see, okay, for this one, I'm switching within systems. That's what we were doing before. There's a direct conversion here. I just have to divide by 1,000 because there are 1,000 meters for every kilometer. So I'm dividing, and that's going to give me 1.8 kilometers. All right, so that's going to be my answer there. So keep in mind, some of these, just like in the last section, may be multi-step problems. Also, they're expecting, like step A here is converting between systems, but step B is converting within systems. The key here is going to be that they're both really and truly the exact same thing, okay? They just have two separate sets of conversion charts. So just kind of keep that in mind as you're going through that. I really hope that this has helped. If you have any questions, come and see me. And otherwise, thank you, and I hope you have a lovely day.